Sorry, there was a helicopter that was flying very low over. Hey, welcome back to Intentionally Left Blank. I am Brandon Williams. I'm the Innovation and Strategy Manager up in Eagle County, Colorado. And today we're filming for the first time from my office deck for the summer because we have seen a huge glowing yellow-white orb in the sky, and I was curious, but it felt really nice, felt warm. It's been gray May here, and I'm just happy to be outside. So, all right.
Cool. Hey everyone, I'm Lilo with the Governor's Office of Information Technology. I'm recording from my basement because that's where I record from, so I'll probably go look at the yellow orb later.
Does the yellow orb come out down there? Can you see it?
I've got windows. I mean,
Yay.
I can see like some light out this way. But yeah, today we're chatting with Cory Nicholson from our Department of Regulatory Agencies around some of the stuff that he's been doing with the agency and kind of moving them along using some really cool tactics that we are really interested in hearing about. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so Cory, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you let us, tell us a little bit about yourself, like what the agency is that you work for and what you do for them.
My name's Cory Nicholson. I work for the Department of Regulatory Agencies, specifically for the Division of Real Estate, and at times I do some work for DORA, which is the Department of Regulatory Agencies, when they need projects to be done in the digital lane. So my role is that I work as a technically communications and project coordinator. And what that really means to us is that as life goes on and the digital strategy the digital divide continues to happen, where people are getting information old ways and new ways, we have to make sure we're able to stay consistent with what the expectations of our consumers are. And so my division has utilized me mostly to make sure that the way we get information out is the way that consumers consume it. So on that side, that's what I do to make sure that we coordinate our communications, our outreach in ways that people will consume. As a project person for the division, I really am there to try to see what the issues are, to learn from each section where we're having challenges with processes, and then try to introduce solutions through project management. And that is a really fun and dynamic aspect of the job. And we've been able to really do some really great things.
So I'm really glad that you're here with us today, Cory. I mean, you and I and Lilo have worked together for a long, long time, and we've broken a lot of things and fixed some of them. I'm really curious what you've been doing lately, because I know you've been pushing on things like forms and sheets and increasing kind of the structural use of the Google tool set, Data Studio. What are you working on right now that you're really excited about that's cool?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely have done what you just described there. There's two big projects I'm working on now that would fall into our discussion. And I kind of gave them names. So the first one is the Stats and Metrics Digital Revolution at the division. We have, at the Division of Real Estate, where in my local part of DORA, my direct supervisor is the deputy director, and he's in charge of all metrics and stats and everything. And he's committed to making sure that we provide not only be able to just put it on a spreadsheet and report up to our DORA counterparts, but he wants to make sure that that are metrics that are designed to ensure that we're meeting our WIGs or wildly important goals, or our strategies to ensure our success of our internal goals are able to be seen by both DORA personnel, but also by DRE personnel. So we have really worked hard to start using Data Studio. We started 2 years ago. We're on what we call 3.0 at this point. We're for the 21-22 fiscal year. And what we've done over the course of the first 2 years is we've integrated all our data collection into one data source. Before, it was scattered. One department might pass it in this way, one department might walk it down. Now it's all being dumped into one central location, which is a data source. This is helping leadership and department heads start to understand how they can just create a data source. And then on the back end, Eric is telling me what the story he wants to visually see from this data. What's the representation of it? And how is it going to connect to, like we said, the WIGs and the SPIs, those strategies? And that's where it gets really fun, right? Because it creates this digital presence online that we can show instantly. We can look at to see if we're being successful or not. It can show our leadership that as well. But what it also does, it forces us to use our data, which then allows our staff to see the value a little bit more. So not only is the data showing us in real time, are we being successful based on the metrics that we've set, but we're seeing that now with Data Studio, data can show the value of the product. And an example of that is we're starting to introduce analytic data on articles. So we produce articles on our website now because DA, the product we use from our partner at NIC, gives us the ability to create articles, which we couldn't do before. And so we know that we can take that analytical information and we can show the people who are producing these articles, are the consumers using it? How long are they using it, right? We're also able to see like how long, or how valuable is that content that they're producing. And so we're creating through Eric, this story that he wants to tell. I'm creating this, I would say, I'm painting that picture for him in Data Studio. And this year, 3.0 is super exciting because we're becoming, we started as a stick figure, right? And our pictures are looking better, but now we're really cruising, and we're seeing how we're able to put together all this data. And so we're pretty excited. That's one project. The other one is it's something that I started based on something I always wanted to do. And again, my supervisor, Eric, allows me to learn. That's part of my role, is to make sure that I understand the Google product so we can squeeze that limit as much as possible. I'm very lucky to do that, and I'm glad that my org gives me that opportunity. So I've been looking at Dialogflow and chatbots. Now, on a large scale, I don't think we can do anything with it, but this technology is beautiful. And the term I use for this one is staying ahead of the user's content consumption curve. So one thing I'm starting to notice through my data collection is that people are going to our digital spaces in the world, and they want to get the information, and that's where they're going for it first. But then ultimately they get lost or they can't find it, and they call us. Now that's a business problem. There's costs associated with those calls. Tons of costs. If someone waits too long, my director might get a call from someone. Why are they waiting too long? Because we're a little bit of a close-knit community, right? I mean, you got to think about like that. So the ability to keep that, so the fact that we know people are going to the website to get the information is a beautiful thing. So that means I can help my management understand, hey, let's keep them there. Let's not let them call us. Not because we don't want to talk to them, but because they're showing us that's how they want to consume the information. So one of the biggest things I've noticed with the way we're collecting information, again, we're collecting through online forums, is the persons are looking for content that is absolutely on the website. They just didn't find it. And we're finding that our number one person is our licensee. So we believe we can create chatbots for our program pages. And this is something that we're working on now, that would take our common questions that we know they're going to ask. How do we know they're going to ask those questions? Is because of the Rodney program that we built several years ago, which uses all of Google Workspace to collect data based on the calls coming into us. And so we collect that data. Every time a call or email comes in, we track what it was about when it comes in from a licensee, so we can understand what they're trying to figure out, and then how we can craft our information. And so we created a database of canned responses. My belief is we can take that database, because we know that's what they're looking for, and put it into the chatbot and build these localized chatbots on each program page. So there's really only 3 we got to build. That's a lot of work, don't get me wrong. But if we could answer the question, and then ultimately, if we can answer the question, send the person to someone quickly through a simple, okay, we know you're looking for this. We got your telephone, we got your email. You want us to call you, you want us to email you. We know all that through the chatbot, asking them that question. Then that leads us to now we'll have a person talk to them, because that ultimately is what they didn't want, but now we'll all do that. And we can even let them choose. Would you like us to email you? Would you like us to do that? So those are the two big projects I'm working on. What's great about both of them, again, is they are the evolution of my division believing in the product that we have and using it and finding solutions, to be honest with you.
That's super incredible. I mean, I love the fact that you're taking active real-time data, and then using that to paint a story within the agency. So in that way, your leadership knows, one, what you're doing is useful and valid, and two, being able to then take that same information and push that up to their leadership, right? Because I'm assuming that's where your boss is taking that same information. So super cool. Looking down the road, say like 5-6 years down the road, right? Where do you see like digital strategy, digital innovation happening within real estate, or even regulatory agencies, or even the state as a whole?
So I love that question because it excites me. And the reason it excites me is I believe that, again, Brandon, you brought up a minute ago, hey, we've worked together for a long time. I remember for the last 7 years knowing who you folks were and seeing you guys and working with you guys. And what I mean by that is I do believe there's a foundation that's established. When I open up my email now, I see some really great trainings and really great opportunities for baseline or local staff to learn, which is great. I think in 5 to 6 years, what we're going to see, what I'd love to see, is the next step, is what we're doing at our local level, is people then connecting that data to the tools that we have inside our work area through Google to really provide efficient processes, eliminate PDFs. That's my week for the next 5 years, would be to eliminate all PDFs at the state. But I think that what I love to see is that at the table, when decisions are being made as far as wigs and strategies and things of that nature from leadership, is that there's this common element that then becomes part of their discussion, which is, how are we digitally able to improve this, or are we? Is there a way to develop this process in a way that is universal, that can be replicated at multiple areas? And is there a way to create a process inside the structure so that the data can be collected and then be analyzed and compared? Because really the boundaries of the state government, as far as the walls or the pillars that we've created, are from a century ago, and data should walk over that. And I think that's what I'd love to see, is that in 6 to 7 years is that we recognize that we want to do things collectively. We want to bring in digital strategy and innovation when we think of how we're going to fix things, so that we start collecting that data and we start figuring things out.
Okay, so the first thing I think we have to acknowledge in talking to Cory is that as soon you don't have to say anything. You ask one question and you just hang on, because
you just sit back and
yeah. And I think that's actually one of my favorite things about Cory, is that he is so this is number one, he's a communicator. At his core, he's a communications officer. He's a storyteller. He's somebody who knows how to tell the story of technology and transformation in a very impactful way that you connect with. And I think that's so important, because I think, our experience has been 50% of all the work we've ever done in transformation or innovation. It's about people. It's not about technology. Yes. It's about understanding, listening, and telling stories. And I just think he's such an embodiment of that. I think the second thing, shifting from communications to pure technical, is that he, at the program line level, he's doing something that a lot of traditional IT shops are still wrestling with. And that is, he understood early on that they were going to need to have a single data source. and even working within a workspace to take their forms, to take their sheets, to compact that data into a single data source. That alone opened up huge pathways for him to be able to make change and really do some of that effective storytelling. I think the third thing is kind of the fallout or the benefit from that, which is now that he got all of their data from real estate into a single data source from all those multiple sources, he's now able to use Data Studio in the way that's truly effective. Is taking those sources from multiple angles, comparing apples to apples, even comparing apples to oranges, and giving leverage to his leadership and his middle management to really see the power of why you would engage in a forum in the first place, and why you would collect this information, why you would compact it, and really, I think what he's doing is remarkable, and he's probably light years ahead of where most programs in government are. I think we've talked about it before. We in government have been very good at finding targeted solutions for targeted challenges. I think Cory and the Division of Real Estate at Colorado are really pushing the edge on getting programs to understand that it's not just about solving that isolated problem, it's about compacting that information and then analyzing it and telling the story and drawing lessons from that. So I applaud Cory for having that vision and that leadership, and what he's doing is remarkable. Yeah,
I totally agreed with all of that. I mean, when you said hold on, I mean, like the first thing that I thought of was like he really shows how passionate he is about what he's doing, right? And that's that I think is one of the biggest things that's kind of lacking in a lot of spaces in government is just that overarching passion to make things better. So my three things, like honestly, the first one is the exact same as your last one, which is telling stories with data, right? So we can talk about having data about blah 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 all day long, but without the ability to then translate that into a way that's consumable for the everyday person, that data is useless. Like that becomes nothing at that point. It's just a series of numbers and stats and graphs. It doesn't mean anything. But being able to flip that around, saying, no, what this is telling us is that this sector of real estate is going through XYZ changes, right? So I think that was super powerful. The second thing was consolidation of data, like you said. So we've got, not just for Department of Regulatory agencies or even real estate alone, isolated, but for the enterprise as a whole. We've got so many disparate data sources all around the state and all around the different agencies. But being able to have a single source of truth with all of that data, I think would make such an impactful story, because like you mentioned this earlier, and I don't think we were recording, but being able to connect real estate data to traffic data from CDOT, right? There's a correlation there that we don't see because we don't have that consolidated data. But being able to then tell a bigger story, backing up to point number one, saying this traffic is moving up this way. Here's how that is affecting real estate, right? And then the last thing on my list was a common language of innovation. So being able to have a conversation with all levels within an agency and everyone understanding kind of what you're talking about. So, the middle manager could come in and say, we need to have reports on this. We're doing them this way, but it would be more efficient if there was another way to do that. And then having kind of higher or executive leadership come down and say, well, you have free reign to go do whatever you need to, and then having that translate back down to the technical workers or the builders saying, yep, we know how to do that and this is how we're going to do it. So kind of creating that common language, or even a process workflow of that innovation and strategy, I think is really key here. So those were my things.
Hey, thanks for joining us this week with Intentionally Left Blank, and looking forward to having you join us in the next one. I'm also looking forward to maybe the next one, not only having sun, but maybe fewer clouds, because I'll tell you, every time a cloud moved over, it plummeted like 10 or 15 degrees and got cold. So I might have been early spring ambitious about being outside, but
yeah, like Brandon said, thanks so much for watching this week's episode. As always, we'd love to hear your comments, either in the comments below the video or in the Public Sector Connect community. And yeah, I might try going outside soon too, because why not? We're getting to be summertime, so we need to kind of change things up a little bit. So, all right, we'll see you around.